All right, welcome to Coffee with the Candidates. We have with us today Jacklyn Mueller, who was going to be running for school board, but actually will be appointed to the Yankton School Board because Franny Kiefer, who has done a fantastic job on the school board, has decided not to run for re-election, and Jacklyn was the only candidate who turned in her petition for the position. So Jacklyn, I want to say congratulations on the new appointment, which will be starting, is it in July when they actually are on the board?
Yes, thank you, yes. So I will be sworn in July. I will kind of do some precursor, attending some of the other meetings just to kind of listen and get caught up prior to being sworn in July, just so that way I have an idea of where things are already sitting. I've been having conversations with Dr. Kindle and Franny, as well as Jill Sternquist too, so that's been nice to kind of dip my toes in a little bit more there. But yes, an official date will be in July.
So this interview is a great opportunity for the citizens of Yankton to learn a little bit more about you, since they might not know who you are. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am not from Yankton. I've been here going on 10 years this summer. My husband is of the Crofton Muellers. So I know there's a lot of those around. So that is where my husband's family is from. And then the other side of our family would be the Fricks in Yankton. So that's what brought us back here. My parents also actually ended up moving to Yankton after we had our first kid. So that's fun as well. We've got everyone pretty well here except my sister. But what's great with that is Yankton has really become home. I oftentimes tell my husband I feel like it's my hometown. I've moved around quite a bit as a kid, and Yankton I think is going to be kind of our home from now on. I think we're both kind of to this place where that's been our conversation, is that Yankton is home. We're going to be here for the long run. We want our kids to go to school here. And actually after we had our first child, that's when we both kind of looked at each other one day and we're like, Yankton is it. We're going to be here. So that is our plan going forward. My husband works at HSC and I work at WNAX here in town, not too far from the Thrive building. So just right down the road. And I've been with WNAX since September. So that's kind of been a whole new world for me as well. That's just
so you mentioned you have kids.
Yes.
How many and what ages?
Yes, so I have 2 kids, and that's another part of why I feel like the school board is a great opportunity right now, and where I feel like I can add value is I have 2 kids in the elementary school at Beetle right now. One is in kindergarten, one is in 2nd grade. Both have been through the early childhood preschool program here in town, and that's really where I kind of started getting more involved into the school system and Yankton County as a whole when it came to the school district, and getting to know Dr. Kindle and Melanie Reichen at Webster. So I really got exposed to kind of the inner workings as my kids went through the early childhood program, and I just thought it was phenomenal. So both kids are in elementary school. You know, for the 3-year term, both kids will be in elementary school the whole time, and as my understanding is, there's no one else on the board who has kids in elementary school at this point. So I think it'll be really great to be able to represent that part of our community.
So are there any other skills or experiences that you have that will maybe make you a great school board member?
Sure. You know, I think sometimes these questions can be hard to answer about yourself, but one thing I will say that I do kind of pride myself on is my patience and my willingness to learn. I like to educate myself from all sides. So before I speak on a topic, I really like to know all aspects of that topic, where I'm getting input from everyone's opinions and ideas about that topic before I come to my own conclusion. Oftentimes we have that gut instinct as to what we feel about something, and I do like to listen to that, but I like to educate myself before I fully make that final decision or opinion that I'm going to have on something. So I do think that is something that'll work really well with the school board, especially the existing members that are there. I know they work really well together. I know they don't always agree, but one thing that I love about it is that they're able to have these great, well-rounded conversations and have many views from the community through these members, because they don't all agree, and come to a common conclusion, which I just think is phenomenal and a great way to represent what we need to see more of in our communities today. Is just this being able to have disagreements or different ideas and different opinions, but actually come together, and it doesn't have to divide us. So.
And I will say, from the conversations we've been having today, you are a great listener. So that is a skill I think that you're going to be able to utilize a lot as you're communicating with the public, that you listen to them as you're trying to process those. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So what do you think are the most important components of being on the school board?
You know, I think kind of going along with what I said right now, or just previously, is that working together to have different people on the board who represent different aspects of the community. And that is one thing I've really learned as I've participated in other committees, that Dr. Kindle and the school district want to make sure that the community is truly represented in the decisions that are made for the school system. And I think that is one of the things that I find most fascinating about it, is that they all work towards that common goal. And to me, I think that's one of the greatest components of it. You know, I've heard different things about running for school board. Some people are like, oh no, you know, and especially people not from Yankton, you know, friends saying like, whoa, what do you think about that? And I was like, I don't think it's what people really think it is, from what I've experienced and seen myself. I've really seen a great team who's willing to work together and truly represent the community and share all those opinions to come to that common conclusion. And I think that to me is what is most appealing. And I'm excited to be a part of a team that's willing to work that way.
So what do you think one of the biggest challenges we're going to encounter in the next 3 years?
You know, the early childhood facility is coming along. Part of that, you know, we kind of had phases as we were working with the different committees that I was on. And really what we were focusing on initially is implementing as phase one, which is getting the new facility built. That being said, there's going to be some other phases that will hopefully follow along with that, which is there's going to be some closures of other elementary schools. And I know that's going to be hard for the community to process. Historical aspects of it, nostalgia, you know, all of that is going to be kind of hard to part with. One thing I know you and I have discussed is I like change. I know change isn't always easy, but I do think it can be for the betterment of the community. So that is something I will, you know, continually stand by. Obviously, we want to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of our community members, but ultimately our children. And after learning what I've learned about some of the elementary schools, they're not the best facilities for the children to be able to expand and truly get the education they deserve. And I think once people are able to see that, it'll be easier to understand and easier to accept. But I do think that could be a hurdle that we'll have to work with, is just explaining to the community what our plans are and what that'll look like.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that will likely come up are people like me who grew up in Yankton, yep. And I went to Lincoln Elementary School, and I have this nostalgic view of what education was when I was there.
Yes.
And being able to realize the education system has changed so much in how it's delivered and what the kids need and the technology, and being able to express that to the community of how that change is really good, and what our kids need now is just so different. So while the building is still there and it looks good, it's just not as functional as maybe we need it to be.
Exactly. It's just not as conducive to the curriculum that is evolving constantly. I mean, I think the way kids are learning is so different, and that was something I also learned, as you were saying, is seeing the way kids learn today is so different than I grew up in school, you know, and it's fun. It's exciting to see that, and that gives me a lot of excitement and joy for what my kids will get to experience, and I only want that to be highlighted for other people who have kids coming up into the Yankton School District. And I really think that early childhood facility will be a great stepping stone into the school system.
So how are you going to be able to reconcile your personal job responsibilities and work commitments and family with the responsibilities you'll have as an elected official?
You know, I feel very blessed in this situation. I work for WNAX, and the general manager there, my boss, Bill Holst, and I have a very great working relationship, you know, that is founded on our belief in Jesus, and I think that's huge. And then also from there, individualizing who we are as people. So a big part of what they believe in is allowing us to be involved in the community, and truly they are very supportive of that. When I brought this idea, I was like, is this something I'm allowed to do, kind of thinking with being employed at WNAX. He's like, absolutely, the more involved in the community, the better. So I am very thankful and grateful for that, and all the support I have of all my coworkers at WNAX right now as well.
So ongoing revenue is a challenge for the school system. What are your thoughts on what it will take to create a balanced budget and manage those needs versus wants?
Yep. So with this one, I will be completely honest and say this is a topic I need more education on. I know I do. I need to know more of the inner workings of what that looks like. That being said, I do think the key factor in there is needs versus wants. There's going to be things that need to be addressed before we can ever get to wants. And hopefully we can get to some of those wants. But that is just a topic I'm going to need to be educated on more. So I look forward to being able to learn more about the financial aspect of the school district.
So there have been several topics, hot topics since COVID, where groups get fired up on a specific topic. How do you intend to communicate with the constituents and try to understand what the majority of the community supports as opposed to a very vocal minority?
And I think that is something that we're seeing in society today in general, is what a lot of times get highlighted is the minority emotions or feelings or opinions, which are important to take into consideration. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying just prior to this as well, is that I like to know all sides of things. I think it's important to hear those things. That being said, I also think kindness is very important. My kids every morning, one of the first things we say is, what are we going to do today? We're going to be kind. So I do think there is a way of handling those situations with respectfulness and kindness, and a way that we can let people know that we're going to listen, but we are ultimately going to make what we feel is the best decision for the kids, for the teachers, for the administration, and for the community. We're looking at the big picture. We can't look at each individual situation, and we want to make sure that everyone feels heard, and I'm willing to listen. And I think the school board has proven that they're willing to listen from what they went through with all their meetings around COVID as well. In a conversation with Franny, I was truly blown away by her response to that. I said, how do you feel about that? And she said, honestly, good. She wasn't, it wasn't anything that hardened her or was like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. It was very much so we worked through it. We supported each other, we supported the community, and we made the best decisions that we could possibly make. And we stand behind those. And hearing that from her, I was like, wow, that is phenomenal. And I give them so much credit for dealing with that situation with as much grace as they did. I can't imagine. I know it's overwhelming. I know there were things that were said that were probably very hurtful and hard to not take personally, but they listened and they took everything into account. So that's kind of where I sit with that.
Yeah, the reason this question got included has to do with the city commission elections. And I was writing these questions during a snowstorm, actually. And I was seeing a lot of comments on Facebook about how people were unhappy and the timing of the plows, that their garbage routes got delayed, that why don't we have snow gates, all of these things that, there was a small group of people really upset about it. And I got to thinking, there's thousands of us in this community who are very grateful that they got around to the neighborhoods in a timely manner, the amount of work that it takes to get that done, but that we're not expressing our gratitude and our appreciation. So while there's a few people complaining, there's still thousands of us who are really happy. And as an elected official, you're not hearing that gratitude and that thanks. Those are the people who are just being quiet about it and being satisfied. So it's always a tough balancing act. So I appreciate the perspective that Franny was able to give you on some of those decisions.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to include in this interview that was not a part of a previously asked question?
I don't think there's necessarily anything I really need to add. I'm excited. If one thing I will say is if anyone has any information on any specific topic that they feel is important for me to have, I would gladly take that. If there's anything that people think is important for me to, spend some extra time educating myself on, those are things I really do want to learn, and I want to take those things on. So please don't ever hesitate to feel like you need to bring something up to me, or you want me to, research certain things or address certain situations. I can't always guarantee that I'll be able to have answers right away, but I will guarantee that I'm going to do the research, because that is what I will do. So.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but what is the best way for someone to find you or get a hold of you?
Sure. So I have social media. I'm on Facebook just under my name, Jacklyn Mueller. I have Instagram as well. Otherwise, if you reach out on those platforms, I'm happy to give a personal email address or something like that as well, where we could have more of an easier conversation. That's more direct. So yes, reach out on any of those platforms and we can go further from there and figuring out how to have a conversation.
Well, Jacklyn, thank you so much for joining us here today, and congratulations on your appointment to the school board in July.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it.